And we are here with the legendary, the one and only Lloyd Kaufman. Uncle Lloyd, thank you for joining us today. Woo!
We're not worthy.
Well, thank you. I am not worthy. Thank you very much. This is indeed a to be or not to be evening.
To be or not to be? That is the question.
It's a Shakespeare reference because The Tempest is our latest Shakespearean adaptation, and it is being called the best adaptation of The Tempest that has been created in the entire history of Shakespeare. But we're going to talk about Tromeo and Juliet, right?
Yes.
Indeed.
It's Troma month on the Tubi Tuesday podcast. We're doing all Troma films this month. So the first one we did was The Toxic Avenger, and we're wrapping it up with Tromeo and Juliet.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, all the love to Troma, and people out there, please check out Troma now. It is the Troma streaming service. It is dirt cheap. You get a 1 month free trial. There is so much amazing content on there. I will be spending a lot of time on Troma now, so please throw your support behind Troma and subscribe.
We, my wife and I watch it. We actually love it. It's got about 1,000 movies. It's got behind the scenes, full length documentaries, poultry guys, toxic horses and toxic. It's got music videos. Troma now has my exclusive make your own. It's really good.
Yes.
Our own library of about 1,000 different movies, and plus every month the James Gunns and Parkers and Eli Roths, Samuel Jacksons of the future.
There's so much amazing content on Troma now, and I am very keen to watch all the documentaries because I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're great, and you can get the app. The app is free on the App Store.
Yes, it is on my phone.
It's definitely a lot of fun, and also movies that come from the heart. You know, movies made by real independent thinkers and people in the tradition of other great Troma directors like Trey Parker and Matt Stone and James Gunn.
I'm not used to this microphone. James, whatever happened to James Gunn?
Beats me. I kind of lost touch, but thanks. Well, Tromeo and Juliet is. I spent 5 years trying to figure out how to do Romeo and Juliet. Had all different writers. First, I did it in Shakespearean iambic pentameter. Then we got high school kids. John G. Avildsen, by the way, with whom I worked on Rocky and Cry Uncle and Saturday Night Fever and Slow Dancing. He told me get high school kids and have them talk in their language and rewrite Tromeo and Juliet. And I did that, and that ended up being pretty stupid because the American school system sucks. And then I tried. Anyway, 5 years later, James Gunn became my assistant, and I saw that he had an MA from Columbia University, and he had written a very good novel. And he was a performance artist who, on his resume, it said he vomited it on stage. So he was the ultimate, perfect Troma employee. And I gave him $100 and maybe 125, and he came back with a very good draft. He solved the balcony speech. He solved the biggest problem with James's how do you call it? His first draft. He had 7 urination scenes. Troma, we don't permit more than 5 urination scenes. But other than that, it was a brilliant first draft. We worked on the next draft for a couple of months, and basically James was a co-director on the movie, and he's in the film too. He's very funny in the movie.
His brother's all right as well.
Sean Gunn. Sean Penn is busy in Ukraine. But Sean Gunn, who's much nicer than Sean Penn, he did a terrific job in Tromeo and Juliet. And also Willie Wisely, who was one of James Gunn's high school friends, scored the film, and you'll be very happy to know that Tromeo and Juliet soundtrack is out, a complete annotated soundtrack with not just Willie Wisely's movie for the score, but also Lemmy and the Pope on a Rope, and oh gosh, there was a big guy who killed himself. Oh damn it, I'm getting senile.
That's all right, Lloyd.
Who's the guy? Sublime. Sublime has a wonderful song.
Yes.
And James Gunn's band from high school, the Icons. James said he made more money from the music that he put in Tromeo and Juliet than from the screenplay, but good for him.
Nice. Well, should we get on with it and watch some of this movie?
Yeah,
let's play the movie and have a chat.
I'll count us down from 5, and all of our listeners out there, if you're watching the film on Tubi or Troma now, when I say go, that's when you play the movie. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Let's have a look at Tromeo and Juliet.
This is a beautiful, beautiful Troma logo, 50 years, and I don't remember who wrote the music, but I do remember that Theo, at the time, our special effects matte artist, created the cityscape with the wonderful. Oh, look at this! A squirrel.
It's the squirrel.
That poor squirrel.
Yeah, that's an animatronic squirrel. It's not real.
I was going to say, Lloyd, what I love about the opening, logo of Troma. I was just saying, like, that opening logo needs to be up there with, like, the legendary 20th Century Fox or Columbia Pictures or Warner Brothers logos. It's that iconic.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much and appreciate it. And Lemmy, who was Lemmy has more words on screen. He has more dialogue than anybody, and yet you can't understand one word. So now as he did about 8 movies. At some point, we gave him subtitles, but fortunately, we didn't give him subtitles, so you can't quite understand everything. Also, he rewrote some of James Gunn's scripts. And to this day, James Gunn is not a fan of Lemmy. But I say Lemmy was a great friend of Troma, and he was the best. And Sean Gunn right there, a wonderful guy, a great guy. And, of course, Sean Gunn and James Gunn and Stevie Blackheart, who's in this movie. Stevie is one of James Gunn's best friends. There's Debbie Rochon, who's been in about 8 Troma movies, Scream Queen, and probably the queen of horror. But Stevie Blackheart is to this day James Gunn's best friend, and he met a number of his closest associates and friends and we're all in touch. Jane Jensen, Andrew Weiner. Unfortunately, Lemmy died, but he's in Class of Nukem High. Return to Class of Nukem High. He's in a bunch of the Troma movies. Terra Firma too. James Gunn, Trey Parker, and Matt Stone do a wonderful public service announcement for hermaphrodites, in trying to support hermaphrodites at the end of Terra Firma. It's wonderful, very yet amusing.
I got a question, Lloyd, because this is your take on the classic Shakespeare play Romeo and Juliet. Where did the initial idea of wanting to do like a Troma version of Shakespeare play?
Well, unlike the people who brought you Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo and Claire, who clearly hadn't studied Shakespeare, Michael Hers and I went to Yale University and we know Shakespeare. And James Gunn has a master's from Columbia. He knows Shakespeare. So we felt that we would probably create a better version. And indeed we did. And I don't think Leonardo DiCaprio or Claire, whatever her name is, Danes, they didn't know it. I don't think they ever saw Shakespeare. If they did, they don't understand Shakespeare. Anyway, enough bad mouthing. This is probably the best interpretation of Romeo and Juliet. And in fact, the Museum of Modern Art, this is James's brother, Sean, a wonderful guy. This is Tromeo and Juliet was recently presented in a Shakespeare month called Breaking Bard, where they had a day of Romeo and Juliet. They had Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet. They had Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, and they had Lloyd Kaufman's and James Gunn's Tromeo and Juliet. And they had ours at the worst playing time, 4 p.m, and the place was packed. All these old writers to the Museum of Modern Art, these old people, rich people, they all felt the security people told me they had more turnaways than any showing at the Museum of Modern Art. Zeffirelli's version came at 6, half full, and Lars Berman came at prime time and not even half full. So that tells you something. That tells you that the Troma movies are underviewed. Nobody sees them because we don't have money to advertise. We're an independent studio of 50 years, and the mainstream media are more interested in advertising dollars. They're more interested in promoting, like New York Times just did, promoting a movie that combines porn with slasher. Wonderful. What a great idea. A24. So they spent 2 pages talking about A24 as if that was never done. The Troma 50 years didn't happen. It ignored. It's like Russia. We don't exist. So it's a big problem. It's a big problem. But here we are at the Museum of Modern Art, and we're out. We're selling more tickets than Baz Luhrmann or Zeffirelli. Now, Zeffirelli at least had a quick, if you had a remote control, you could freeze it on Juliet's breast. What was her name? I can't remember her name, but 1968, that was a big deal at Yale.
Meanwhile, we just have boobs on the screen, and we're a big fan of boobs. The 3 of us.
The point is that this is a movie made in 1992 or 93, and it's still being shown in movie theaters. And I don't know if Zeffirelli's or Baz Luhrmann's movie is still being shown. And again, Jane Jensen and Stevie Blackheart and James Gunn and Val, who plays Murray, they all had studied Shakespeare. They understood Romeo and Juliet. They had background on, they did. It's a wonderful because they understood and had studied Shakespeare.
The movie also looks like it's a time capsule of like the time in New York City, the counterculture at that time.
Well, the inspiration for Tromeo and Juliet was what you just said. The problem was